like to do, or you'd like to do some interview practice, that is what that coach is there for. We have a finance coach and we have professional resume writer, all in our breakout rooms today. Also, something else we'd love for you guys to do is Nicole Langston just did an example for you. If you, and she's one of our awesome coaches, she's a LinkedIn coach with us and she'll be here at the end. But if you could drop your LinkedIn URL right in the chat box, Joey did it as well. Drop your LinkedIn URL so that it's blue and clickable. And what that allows us to do is click on your LinkedIn URL and connect directly to you. So again, it's all about networking. So if you go to linkedin.com and you click on your picture, it will take you to your profile page. And at the very top in the search bar, you will see your URL. Just copy that and paste it right into the chat. Thanks, Kevin. And I just did mine as well. Just drop it right in the chat and you will be able to connect directly to that person. That's additional networking for you. And again, we want to help you build out your LinkedIn profile if you haven't done that, but also connect to the people that are on the call today. All right, very good. So we are excited to hear Wade. Whoops. Hey, Bree, I think I might have done that. There we go. You can go ahead and flip over to Wade's talk. So Wade Thomas, just a little heads up, Wade has been dealing with bronchitis. And so he got up today well enough to be part of our call. And so he is going to be here during his talk. And if you have questions or thoughts for him, please drop it in the chat and he will address those at the end, or maybe even within his talk, but he will be addressing those before he leaves today, because after he speaks, he will be dropping off just because he's not feeling well. But we're really incredibly grateful. Wade, you're here. Your voice is a little lower than normal, but we appreciate you being here. So for over 2 decades, Wade Thomas has served as a strategic talent executive and coach who has helped to develop and shape organizations from the perspective of high performance management, coupled with compassion and empathy. As the founder and CEO of Aim to Win, Wade has coached and consulted with hundreds of people to become the best that they can be in their careers and to find and apply their passions to the workplace. Wade resides in Phoenix, Arizona with his family and gets invigorated by taking in a game of soccer, enjoying food and wine, or hiking the local foothills. Wade has been such a great advocate and support of Career Connectors for many years, and we are incredibly grateful you are here today. Give it up for Wade Thomas. Woo-hoo. I think you're still on mute, Wade. He's working on it. Let's see.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, you need to free me up there, I think.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Jessica, for that introduction. And I'll apologize for my low voice today, but hopefully everybody can hear. It is not my microphone. So. So what I want to really talk about today is we're all in a new world. And in some numbers, there's 70% of employees out there are unhappy in their jobs. And there's 11.1 million jobs open in the US right now. And what we're seeing a lot of is people just jumping ship. It's been called the Great Resignation. People are leaving, they're usually chasing more money, things like that. But what's happening is 72% in a recent survey regret taking a new job. And so what I want to talk about today is I want to give you a series of frameworks that'll help you not be part of that 72%, that'll help you find the job, of your dreams and help you go and get it. So it's going to be a process. It's going to be a series of frameworks. It's not just running out there and finding the first thing. So with that, we'll jump right in. So I have what I call the Empower framework. And this is a framework that's been around quite a while. There's nothing new. I created this about 6 years ago, but it is even more relevant today. And what we're going to talk about is finding your career path, growing the talents that you're going to need in that career path, developing a marketing plan to get out there, and finally making it happen, taking steps to actually go from, the dream to actually finding the jobs along that career path. So the first thing is, when you're finding your career path, is you want to start off with uncovering your motivations, and then you want to discover your destination. So it starts with motivations. What really drives you? And there's a couple of things that you want to do when you're coming up with this. First of all, and this may sound odd, but think back through your life and what were those dreams and aspirations that you had? You know, what was it even as a kid? What was it that excited you? You know, throughout your career, what was that kind of thing that you thought about that said, gosh, if only I could have that career? You know, capture that, think about that, have that in there. And then go back to your previous jobs, do a deep dive, do an analysis. You know, I worked with a client one time. They spent about 3 or 4 weeks just doing this, just really dissecting it. And I'm not saying you have to spend 3 or 4 weeks of nonstop, but go back through every job and see, what did you like about that job? What really got you excited? And then what didn't you like? What bummed you out? What, created some problems? And the deeper you go, the more you're going to really understand what motivates you from a career perspective. So this is kind of going to lay the framework for what we do as we find a new career. The second step in this is discovering your destination. So it's going from what your motivations are to really figuring out what that career is that you want to end up with. And we're going to jump into each of these a little bit deeper, but it's going to include vision, core values, passions, career specifications, and of course, matching it up to the marketplace. So let's start with vision. It's really important as you enter a career search to really set a vision. I do believe the slides will be available. Jessica's nodding her head, so that's good. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years? Think about the location. Is there a particular geography that you want to be in? What value are you providing in that next 3 to 5 years? What's your span of control look like? Do you have people working for you? How many is that? What kind of processes or technologies you're working with? So really paint as deep a picture as you can for that short term, that 3 to 5 years. But then you're going to step back and take a broader picture. You're going to write your story. And what I want you to do is place yourself at the end of your career. You're at that retirement party. You're thinking back, everybody's talking to you about all the things that you did. And what do you see? Imagine what it is that you accomplished throughout that career. What is your legacy? As you're retiring, what are you leaving behind? What are you proud of? Write that story today. And what that'll do is that'll create that framework that as you're going through your career and as you're choosing jobs, that you want to be able to make sure that you're filling in the story as you go. Second thing is to drill a little bit deeper and figure out what are your core values and what they aren't. So think about your core values. What's really important to you? What are your values? And what I like to do is have everybody in a chat box kind of throw out 1 or 2 of their core values. I want to see some of what those are. Okay, fun and integrity. Freedom. Helping people. Autonomy and responsibilities. A good one. Chocolate. I can't argue with that one either. Having time with family. Compassionate. All good core values. The service is another one. Love. Some of mine are independence and the freedom to do what I want when I want. So it's really important to take those core values. And then what you're going to do is you're going to step back and you're going to imagine, what do those core values look like in your job? So it's one thing to say connecting people or empathy or service or independence, but what does that look like? Envision what that will be when you're actually in the job. And what that does is, as you're looking at opportunities, you know what to look for. Integrity, for instance, can be, a pretty nebulous term. It's different for everybody. But once you put a picture in your mind, you know what questions to ask in an interview, you know what to ask of people, when you're doing your research, you know what you're looking for. And finally, the other side of this is, what are your core limits? What things won't you tolerate in a job? And this is very important. I think back to a former client of mine that came to me after this experience, and they had found what they believed to be a dream job. They wanted to work for a small tech company, exciting, growth oriented. This was about 5 or 6 years ago, so tech was all the rage, and it was a really exciting opportunity. They lasted about 3 weeks, and what happened is they showed up, and it turns out one of their limits was they really wanted a quiet workplace. And they showed up, and there was, they had a cubicle that was right across from a ping pong table. And you can imagine tech companies with ping pong tables. And by not understanding that, a noisy workplace was a core limit of theirs, it really got things messed up. So it's really important to understand what it is that you can't tolerate as well. So next thing to go through is your passions. What are your personal and professional interests? And, a good way to look at this is, where do you spend your time? What is it that you lose track of time on? What is it that you're reading about, listening to podcasts about, watching videos, whatever it might be? Those moments where, you just start reading and like 3 hours later, you notice you're still reading. What was that topic? Those kind of things tend to be your passions, your personal and professional interests. And then the next step is kind of take that list and say, which of these could be a career option? And it's funny that chocolate was mentioned earlier. I mean, that is a passion of mine. And but as I sat down and looked at this, and I added up all my other passions along with it, chocolate just wasn't a valid career option for me. The chocolate taster didn't bring some of the other things that I wanted. So it's important to kind of now take a little bit of time to narrow it down. Which ones are really options for you? Okay, then the next step is, and as you can see here, what we're doing is we're kind of working through a funnel. And so the next thing here is, okay, let's break it down into some career specifications. We did some of this earlier when you did your job analysis and you kind of dove into what you liked and what you didn't like. But you want to come up with, what are the things that you must have in your career? So before I throw some examples out here, I'd like you guys to go back to chat and throw out some examples of some career specifications that you have. What are your must-haves? Good. Growth opportunities, empowerment, flexibility, purpose, meaning, people engagement, time flexibility, opportunity for growth and learning, healthy work-life balance, a manager gets back to you, always good, true teamwork, working remote, that's a really important one. A remote global company, all good ones. Here's some other examples, maybe. Want to move around, not be stuck behind a desk. Want to work with people to solve problems or better themselves. We saw some of that. On a cutting edge of innovation might be one. Structure. Leading a team. Teaching. Not working for a large bureaucracy. That's one of mine. I'll be able to spend time with my children. I will work at home. I will earn X a year. I didn't see that in the chat, but a lot of times we have compensation requirements, and it's really important to understand those as well. So these are all career specifications that we want to make sure we have written down, and we're ready, because we're going to be looking at those as we're looking at companies and opportunities. So that was a lot of introspection there, and looking at ourselves. The next step is to really, once you're super clear, like Jessica said, now I have to go and understand the market, because you could have this perfect picture of your perfect job, but if nobody's willing to pay you for it, then that's not going to be your destination. So next step is to really go out there and start researching the marketplace. This list is actually about 20. I narrowed it down to 3 big ones, but the internet's a great place to go. There's a lot of information out there. Social media, you can look at the Facebook, you can look at the Instagrams, all those kind of things, but also look at places like Glassdoor and things like that are a little more company specific. You can start getting, kind of a feel for what the marketplace has. Look at job postings. It'll give you kind of an idea. But the last one there I capitalized, that's not a typo. And because so often, a lot of people, especially us introverts, don't like to do this, but the best way to understand a market is talk to people. Imagine that. Make the phone calls, reach out, talk to people that are familiar with the market, talk to people that are doing the work. That's just a great way to understand what's really going on. Grab some coffees, pick up the phone, whatever it might be. And once you have this research, then you can create that short list. So you've been narrowing it down to that funnel. Now you can kind of really go through and ask the questions, what is possible? What is the marketplace willing to, pay me for? And what is realistic? One of the things that I had a lot of passion around when I was in my 20s is, I really enjoyed basketball. I played it 7 times a week, at least. I was decent at it, but was it really realistic for me to have an NBA career? I mean, no. And, I didn't have that kind of game. So it's important to really kind of see and get that realistic image of what can be done there. So the next step, once you kind of have that destination in mind, is to grow your talents. And there's 3 steps to this. First is knowing yourself, knowing what talents you have. Then you identify the need in the marketplace. And when you do that, you'll find there's a gap, most likely. And then you can grow into that gap. So we're going to talk about these individually as well. So first of all, knowing yourself, understanding your talents. The first step of this is going through and creating a talent inventory. So think of a talent inventory as a warehouse. You're going to go through and you're going to put all your talents on a shelf, list all those talents, all those skills, get creative. This could be stuff that you've done in the business world. This could be stuff you've done for work. It can be stuff you've done at home. It can be stuff you've done for schools, for nonprofits, whatever it might be. What talents do you have? The idea here is to get them all out there. The second step is to kind of go through that warehouse and say, okay, what are my real top shelf talents? What am I really good at? What are the kind of things I like to do too? And so you're kind of like getting down to that list, shrinking it down to what you're really nailed. Then go through there and see if you have any elite talents. And you might not, but elite talents are talents that you are amongst the best of the best in your chosen place at that talent. And elite talents can be very powerful things. So you want to see if you have those. And I identify those right now. And we'll do a little bit more work on these a little bit later. So the next step, once you kind of have that warehouse filled of your talents, is go and figure out what is needed in that destination career. So some of this you may have come up with when you're out there talking to people and doing your research. If you didn't, it's time to go out and talk to some more people. Look at the job postings, things like that, where anywhere you can pick up information on what talents are needed. And then then you go back to your warehouse. Are those talents in there? And if they are not, and chances are, if you're honest with yourself, there's probably some that are missing. Then you want to come up with a plan to grow yourself. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to answer the question, how are you going to get those needed talents? Is this something you can learn in a class? Do you need to pick up some experiences? Remember, careers, your next step isn't where you're going to finish up in your career. A career is a series of jobs, a series of opportunities. So maybe that next step is something that gets you those talents, that gets you to that dream destination. And then take a look at the elite talent question again. Are there things that are close? Are there things that you could take, those top shelf talents you could take, and you could become the best of the best? You can become an elite talent in that space. Then decide, what will you do to become that elite talent? What is your plan to get there? Because when you are the best of the best, that really opens up a lot of doors. That doesn't mean you have to have a best of the best. It doesn't mean you have to have an elite talent. But if you do, it's a really powerful thing. Okay, the next step is to develop a marketing plan. And we're going to talk about value proposition. That's a word everybody's heard, I'm sure. But I also want to talk about hero stories and supporting the brand. So The first step is a value proposition. What you want to do is connect your value, and your value is those talents and those passions and things that you identified earlier. How do you connect that to what an employer needs? And a good construct that I use for this is quite simple. It's I help A, where A is an organization, to get B, which is a result for that organization. So I help A to get B. So does somebody want to take a stab at that in the chat? What's your value proposition? I help nonprofit organizations get the word out about what they do and raise much needed funds. Excellent. Thank you, Shelley, for being bold there and being the first one up there. Perfect example. You help nonprofit organizations, A, to get the word out about what they do and raise much needed funds. Great value propositioning. The next step here, though, is now you want to differentiate yourself. And a good construct to this is add in there, unlike others, I am, and C is what you are. What separates you from everybody else? I see Lindsay jumped in as well. I help executives have more time to spend in the business instead of in the business via time management, epic organizational skills. So Shelley or Lindsay, you want to take a shot at differentiating. Unlike others, you are. And any of you can take that stab. What is the, how are you differentiating yourself? This is where it gets tricky. I make a difference for my students. I connect with them and see what they need. I'm differentiating the classroom beyond the curriculum. Excellent. A really good one. I have a 360 view of COVID. I'm bilingual. I think out of the box. You know, these are all great. And it's really the power behind this differentiated value proposition is what this becomes, a centerpiece of your marketing strategy. So when you're doing a resume, a LinkedIn profile, you're meeting with people, you're doing your networking, you're having the interviews, this is your main message. And so everything you do, everything you do in that whole process ties back into this value proposition and supports it. And we're going to jump into that a little bit more right now. So hero stories, and these are so important. And the reason why is nothing captures people's imagination better than stories. Storytelling, no matter what you're doing. In this case, you know, as we're looking for a career, storytelling is so powerful. You know, it's one thing to throw a bunch of numbers and things around, but people remember stories. People relate to stories. People can see the story themselves in the stories, and they can picture you doing those kind of things for them. And what a hero story is where you did something, where you demonstrate your value above and beyond the norm. You did something super. You were a hero in that moment. And it doesn't have to be these great epic things. It's something that you just did above and beyond a norm that's within the context of your value proposition. So show stories that support, I'm a forward thinker and tend to see all signs of a situation quickly. What are the stories? You want to be detailed, specific, and you want to be narrative. Take the time and write these out. You know, be an author. Write the story out, get to know that story. And you want a bunch of these. You want these, you know, as many of these as you can think of, because that's how you deal with an interview, is you want to answer interview questions with your stories, because that's how people relate. This is really a key part. And it's beyond just the interview. This ties into your LinkedIn. This ties into your networking, into your resumes. Everything you do, you can tie back into these stories. And finally, supporting the brand. You know, a big part of supporting the brand is the hero stories, but there's other things that you want to have. And again, these all tie back into your value propositions. What are some specific results and accomplishments that show that you can create something from nothing, or you think out of the box, or you bring the best value to your students? What are some testimonials? You know, the best person to tell a story about yourself is somebody else. And so if you can find people that give you testimonials, that can talk about you when they're doing an introduction in networking, or maybe even your cover letter, on your LinkedIn recommendations are a great place to put it. Get those testimonials. Recognition. Were you ever receive a recognition, awards, things like that? You want to capture that in support of your brand. Samples. A lot of times it's relevant to have work samples, to have samples available. Have those ready, and follow your network. The more people in your network that can speak great things about you, the better. So it's a great question, Lindsay. How do you get past the ATS to even get to interview? One thing I'm going to talk about, I'll talk about that a little bit later. I think if your strategy is to get past the ATS, that there's probably better ways you can approach it. The resume question, that's probably a great time to hit one of the career coaches afterwards. Is how do you bend your story into the resume? Because it's very, very specific. So part of this process is developing your image. And this is something that I just see a lot of people just not spend enough time on this. And if you can have all the talents in the world, you have a great value proposition, you've got your hero stories, but if you mess up your image, you might not even get there. So think about what you want people to think about you after they spend time with you. This is that first impression, but it's also, when you do sit down for a networking meeting or an interview or a phone screen or something like that, think about upfront, what do you want them to take away, and build your image around that. How are you going to dress and groom? Ideally, you're clean, you match the dress of, the organization you're trying to get into, things like that. Are there any skills that you need to add? What materials do you need? Resume, LinkedIn, business cards. Every organization is a little bit different. Every industry is a little bit different as far as what you need to get in the door. There are some industries that, you want a 23-page CV. Other industries, you want a 1-page resume or 2-page resume. So make sure you know what your audience wants. And are there certain groups that you should join? Yeah, know what that is in your industry. Know what the popular groups are. Know where you're going to meet people. And yeah, Valeria, it is really hard to sell ourselves. And but it's something that if you think of it in terms of you're selling your story, your brand, your value, a lot of times that'll help you get over that mindset. Finally, making it happen. So this is where everything kind of comes together into the real world. So this is how you get from your aspirations to your value proposition, to your marketing plan, to all that. So the first thing you're going to do is take a look at your current network. Evaluate your network. Go through everybody you know. You can start on LinkedIn, but you want to get beyond that. Who do you know? And evaluate it. Who are your A contacts? Who are your B contacts? Who are your C's? And the way that looks at from a career standpoint is you may have some people in your network that'll never help you in your career. Those are your C's. You have your B's that maybe these are people that can introduce you to somebody, or maybe these people that can tell a good story about you. Because remember, that's one way to get over your inability to sell yourself, or your hesitance to sell yourself, is have somebody else sell you. And then your A contacts are the ones that, they're really relevant to your career search right now. So figure out who those A contacts and start there. And go through that list of A contacts. Figure out and ask yourself, what are their personal and business interests? If you don't know, make it a point to find out. How can you help them? What is your common ground? Of course, you want to know how they can help you too. But one of the things is you want to really focus in on how you can help them first. There's a saying out there called givers gain, and people that give of themselves will gain the most help from people. Ask yourself what advice you can ask. This is an interesting one. An interesting little psychological thing is people love to help. People want to feel useful. People want to have people ask them advice. And so you want to be able to, think about how you can ask them advice and get them engaged that way. What style resonates? You may have, I met with a CEO that was, in his 60s and, in a suit and tie, things like that. I also met with a CEO that's 25 years old and was wearing a hoodie. I did not use the same style of communication for each. So which style is going to resonate with that person? And then ask yourself, how frequently do we interact? And do we need to interact more? One thing as you're going through this process, you can do it any time. But if you have the ability to be doing this before you're looking for the next job, that's even better. It's much better to really strengthen these relationships before you need to use them. So once you've kind of gone through that analysis of your A contacts, you want to take the steps and have a plan to strengthen and maintain these contacts. Once you're done with the A's, by the way, feel free to jump into your B's, but certainly focus on the A's, the people that can really help you the most. The next step is look at your future network. So go back to your story, the story you wrote as you're sitting at the retirement party, looking back. Who did you know along the way? Who helped you get that step up? Who should you know? Figure out what that future network looks like, and then figure out how you're going to connect to them. Are there people in your network that can introduce you? Are there other avenues? Are there groups? Are there ways to meet? Be very strategic about this. It may be that you need to meet. Maybe I need to know the mayor of Gilbert. Okay, how am I going to go meet them? I'm sure Jessica knows them. So there's a good example. Understand how you're going to connect to them and go through the same process that you did with your A contacts. Get to know as much as you can before you meet them. Think about how you might be able to help them. And when you do meet them, convert them to your future network. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about before I throw it open to questions is social media conversion. So, it's almost a pet peeve of mine a little bit. It's people that have thousands of LinkedIn connections. And it's great to have thousands of LinkedIn connections. I'm not against it. I have thousands of LinkedIn connections. But the real power in your LinkedIn connections is how many of those people are real connections. How many of those people are real life contacts? So go through your LinkedIn list. Go through the ABC process and figure out how are you going to convert those people into a real life connection. So if it's somebody in your local area, reach out to them, grab a coffee. I do quite a bit of that. I'll reach out to probably 50 people a week. How can we have coffee? Can we have a phone call? A video call, things like that. Get out there and try to make that personal connection. Because it's great to have the connections on LinkedIn, or by the way, on any of the other social media mediums. But until you make them, bring them over to real life, they're really not going to be as strong a resource for you as they can be. All right. I'm going to go ahead and throw it open for some questions here in a moment, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on my website. I am going to be stepping away after this, but if you would like a free coaching session with me, scan the QR code there on the screen, and that should take you to a calendar, and you can get on my schedule. But in the meantime, anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you so much, Wade. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop them in the chat right now. I would love for each of you, Wade went through a lot of content today. I would love for each of you to just drop in on the chat one thing you learned today, or one thing you thought about yourself, or you were able to process through. Go ahead and drop that in the chat. And one of my favorite things you said, Wade, was who do you know? I have a really good friend, you probably know him too, Dave Sherman, and he taught me those 4 words 12, almost 13 years ago, right after I launched Career Connectors. And Dave is like, Jessica, you just need to start asking people, who do you know? And that is literally how I built this organization. It was all about who do you know? Who do you know? I have no idea how to do this. Who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? And so use those words frequently and often. It's just so great to hear so many people talking about that, because that is the game. Networking is so important. So awesome. Can we, so Valerie wants to know if we can send the QR code out via email so she can scan.
I can give you a link, Jessica. Can you distribute it?
Do you want to drop the link right into the chat?
Maybe, if I can figure it out.
Do that. If you could drop the link in the chat, that would be the best. Thank you. All right, any other questions before we transition out of here? All right, the hero stories. Yes, turning your social connections into real connections. You know what's so cool about that is I also have a lot of LinkedIn connections. And so when I need something or need help, I use who do you know all the time on social media. And so some of the people that respond are people that I don't even know well, but actually turn into a real connection because they respond to my message or I respond on their LinkedIn posts. And so you can even convert people and get to know people by just responding to their messages. Just, congratulating them. Recently, I got this really cool award and somebody emailed me and said, hey, congratulations. And I was like, thanks. And then I started asking about her. We met and now we actually may have some grant opportunities because just of that quick engagement. So we turned a social media contact into a real life friend and business colleague that we're going to be able to help each other a lot in our missions to do this kind of work in the community. And so make sure, you are engaging that way. Great job, you guys. Okay, there's the link. So that link that Wade just dropped in, it is clickable. So you can click on it and you can go ahead and make a coaching session directly with him. So thank you so much, Wade. Anything else before we transition off? Okay. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you again, Wade. Feel better. Thank you for coming. I know you weren't feeling your best today, but we really appreciate you stepping in and providing such great content. This will be available. We don't necessarily send out the PowerPoint because of intellectual property and the files are huge, but we do keep this whole thing recorded and it'll be on our website by tomorrow morning, where anyone can come back and review any of the content that they would like. So applause to you, Wade. Thank you. This is our virtual applause. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, we are moving on to Anna Brambilla, and she has more than 20 years of experience in the field of career transition. She's been a career coach, recruiter, relocation expert, outplacement consultant, and more. And prior to that, she worked in corporate finance. She has an MBA from the University of San Francisco and an undergrad in management economics from Simmons College in Boston. But in 2017, she was looking for a different path, and she happened to attend a workshop on franchise options and loved the concept of franchising. Then she bought her own license with the Entrepreneur's Source and has been helping professionals discover options outside of traditional career paths since then. Anna is focused on helping people get the job and the life they love. And one of her favorite things to do is be a matchmaker between people and resources. She leaves the romantic matchmaking to the professionals, but she loves giving people ideas, suggestions, resources, and hope as they navigate a confusing and frustrating situation. She is an excellent listener, coach, and facilitator. And as career ownership coach, she works really hard to understand her clients. Each person has their own dreams and goals and unique set of skills and experiences. And many of her clients come to her not knowing what they want, just that they want something different. And she helps them identify a vision for their future and explore ways to achieve that. She's helped hundreds of clients. She's helped so many of our people, some who have gotten franchises and many who have not. She's a great listening board and she really helps people identify different opportunities. So will you please help me welcome Anna Brambilla?
Thank you, everyone. Can everyone hear me all right? I'm having some technical difficulties earlier. All right, terrific. Awesome. Well, I am so glad and grateful and honored to be here and just impressed with Wade for giving that great presentation while not feeling great. Oh my goodness, congratulations and thanks for doing that. I want to piggyback off of, and I'm so glad that I was here to hear that, and I'm so glad to be part of this conversation, because I am going to talk about franchising and dispel some myths and give some information about that. But I wanted some completely resonated with what Wade was saying about finding your passion and finding what does that ideal life look like. And that's a lot of what I do with my clients, is helping them figure out, what does that ideal life look like? What are you going to be doing on a daily basis? What are you going to be doing for your life? What are the things that drive you? There's a concept that I'm hearing more and more about. What's your why? And I love that concept. What is your why? Why are you here? For me, I realized 20-something years ago that my why is making a difference in people's lives. And so my why is helping people figure out, what are they going to be doing and how can they make their life better, specifically around career transition and careers and business ownership and things like that. The other thing I just wanted, Wade mentioned this in one of his presentations, one of the greatest questions you can ask, not only is, who do you know? Because I agree with Jessica, that's huge, but what can you do? What can I do for you? I have had so many doors opened because I've offered that. What can I do for you? What is your biggest problem that you're facing? What's keeping you up at night? It's a great question to ask in interviews. It's a great question to ask in networking for two reasons. One, people always resonate. Hey, wow, this person wants to help me. This is terrific. And it's more than, okay, let me know if I can help you. It's like, what specifically can I do to help you? And so that's huge. And the question always becomes, because people are polite, it's like, well, what can I do to help you in return? And well, let me tell you, you can help me by helping me find people to talk to, or give me some clarity on what I'm going to do next. So I just wanted to really piggyback off of what Wade said. So I think that's so important.
Anna, we are losing you a little bit. Maybe go a little closer. Mm-hmm.
I'm actually talking on a headset because I'm calling in. So I will talk louder and hopefully that will work. And then my next thing is to try and figure out why my computer's not letting me talk. But that's
better.
This is not the time. Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to have some more interaction here, and you guys have been great about communicating in the chat. So how many people here have thought of franchising and said, way too expensive and I don't want to own a McDonald's? Put a 1 in here of, yeah, I don't want to own a McDonald's. That's all franchising is a McDonald's, and I don't want to own that, and it's going to cost too much. Anybody feel like that? 1? Yep. A lot of people. I'm here to give you some education. 0. I love it, Felix. We'll have to ask about what that means later. So great. I'm here to talk about something that you probably never thought of, or thought of and dismissed, as it turns out, prematurely. And I'm here to tell you about another option to explore. I was doing the math not too long ago, and I'm 5th generation educator. So my parents, my mother, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, my great-great-grandfather and grandmother were all in education. And when I realized that, I realized my value and what I bring to what I do is as an educator. I love helping people learn. And when I realized that that's what I do, is I help people learn, it completely reframed how I work on my business. So yes, I work in franchising. Great. I promise you, it's not just McDonald's, it's not just Subway, it's not just 7-Eleven, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. What I do is help people explore options and learn about things that they never knew existed. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Bree. Audio's starting to get iffy again. Okay, thanks for letting me know. I'll just have to talk much louder. Thank you for letting me know that. So franchising at its core is a proven business system. It's ongoing. It's something that has been gone through, the franchisor has gone through, all of the trials and tribulations to figure out what's going to be successful. I don't know if any of you like those meal prep kits, HelloFresh and things like that, if you've ever tried them, but what they do is they give you they send you a box with all the ingredients. So most of it is already pre-measured or cut up, but you still have to put it together, and you still have to sometimes do some prep work. And what you do is you put it all together and you create this meal. And you know, if you follow the recipe, that you have excellent chances for being successful. Not only that, though, you have the opportunity to put your spin on things. So for my family, we've got some pretty picky eaters. And so I know that if the recipe calls for cumin, for example, my husband, for whatever reason, doesn't like cumin, so I have to take that out. Or my son doesn't like a lot of things. That's what's nice about having a 14-year-old teenage boy. But we have a lot of picky eater things in our family. So I customize it, or I might add more, take away less. That's what a franchise is. It's a proven business system. It's a recipe. And they give you all the tools. They give you all the instructions. Unlike a meal prep kit, they will actually give you coaching. So someone side by side with you to help you create it and make it beautiful. And so that's fundamentally what a franchise is. There's also the concept, and I'll go into this in a little bit, that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but that's crucial. And finally, it's a win-win business relationship, and that's huge. The franchisor wants you to be successful, and so they are going to do everything in their power to make you successful. So we'll talk about that in a second. Next slide, please, Bree. So franchising is great for anybody who wants to be a business owner. Put a 1 in if you've ever thought in any way, shape, or form of owning your own business. And 0 if you're like, no, I love corporate. I want to stay in corporate. Who's 1 if you've ever thought about owning your own business? A lot of people. 1, I love Valeria, the exclamation card. I love it. That's great. Anybody out there is like, no, I've never thought about it. It's not something I've ever thought of. Great. Franchising is that ideal way to allow you to own your own business with a lot of the risk taken away. So I think there are 3 types of people in the world. There are the people who are true entrepreneurs. I love those people. I live in the heart of Silicon Valley, so I know those true entrepreneurs all the way. You see them all the time. They've got this brilliant idea. They're going to be the next Facebook, the next Google. They've got this great idea. They want to do everything. And I admire those people. I'm not one of them, but I admire them. Then there's the people who are the corporate people who love corporate. My husband's like that. He loves corporate. He loves corporate America. He loves bosses and colleagues and doesn't mind the meetings and the politics. God bless him. I'm not like that. Not for me. And then there are the people like me in the middle, where I want to be my own boss, but I don't have that brilliant idea of how to be my own boss. And so that's why franchising for me is such a perfect fit. One of the things about franchising is, again, all the startup work is done for me. I have a recipe. I follow the recipe, but I have tremendous flexibility among how I implement that recipe. I've got not only startup experience from my franchisor, but ongoing. I've been doing this, I'm coming up on my 5th anniversary in a couple of months. And not only did I have tremendous experience getting started, but I have ongoing coaching, and they do all kinds of things for me, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Plus, it's a proven business method. Next slide, please, Bree. So we're going to talk about some of the myths. And as I mentioned, it's not just Subway, it's not just McDonald's, it's not just 7-Eleven. Next slide, please. First of all, it's not just donuts, and it's not just hamburgers. This is the breakdown of franchises industry-wide, of the several thousand franchises out there. And yes, a fair amount of the franchises in general is the quick service restaurants. However, in our portfolio, next slide, please. In our portfolio, we have only 4% of the franchises in our portfolio have anything to do with food. Nothing to, so that means 96% have nothing to do with food. So the question is, I'll get to that in a second, I'll go into more details, but the question is, what is it? Well, that's going to be a question that I'll answer in a few minutes. So some myths about franchising. Finding the right business will make me successful. Actually, that's not true. What will make you successful in a franchise or in a business, but specifically in a franchise, is your ability to follow the recipe. Going back to that meal prep, I can take a recipe, and if I start making some wholesale changes, putting shrimp instead of the chicken, or cooking it in the oven instead of frying it on the frying pan, chances for success are considerably reduced because I'm not following the recipe. Other thing that's going to have a huge success, component of my success is my attitude. If I go out there and say, yeah, I don't want to do this, well, let me tell you, nobody wants to do business and nobody wants to hire you if you have the wrong attitude. Attitude is so, so important. And finally, the other thing is, how coachable are you? If you are open to coaching, and this is true for no matter what you do, as you're job searching, as you're career searching, and you're talking to those people, to Wade's point earlier about helping people and asking questions and getting to know, and who do you know, the more coachable you are, the more successful you're going to be. So that's what's going to be making you successful. How well do you follow the model and the recipe? What is your attitude, and how coachable are you? Because remember, a franchise is a proven business model. They've already proven it. They've already said this can work with the right conditions, meaning that you follow the recipe mostly. Secret to success is finding a franchise is doing something I love. So not true. So not true. Yes, it's nice to do what you love, and that's helpful, but don't focus on the industry. Focus on what the franchise can, what you'll be doing on a daily basis. And actually, I realized, go to the next slide, please. I'm getting ahead of myself. So I was talking about the myths without going to the screen, so thank you for this. So don't sell yourself short. What we do is focus on, when I work with my clients, is focus on what are you going to be doing on a daily basis. I haven't met anybody in the thousands of people that I've worked with. I haven't had a single person come to me and say, I have always wanted to own a house cleaning franchise. Never, maybe they're out there. Maybe they're out there. I've never heard that person, maybe they're out there. And yet I have some clients who've been tremendously successful in the quote unquote unsexy businesses. And the reason for that is that they're focusing on their goals, and what are they trying to achieve with their lives, to Wade's point. What is your why? Why are you trying to do this? And what gives you passion and what gives you meaning in the world? For some of those people who own a house cleaning or unsexy franchise, what they love doing is they love making a difference in people's lives. They love making, let me tell you, I love my Tuesday afternoons. I come home and my house is clean. I can tell you that my house cleaner is making a huge difference in my life, and I'm forever grateful to her and her team. Focus on what are they providing. They're providing people jobs. They're providing people opportunities to support themselves. So that's what we focus on. Know the right opportunity the minute I see it. That is so not accurate. I see that again and again and again. I can tell you client after client after client who said to me when I presented options to them, I don't like any of these. What's going on? These are all awful. These are just, no, I don't want to do any of them. And I said to them, keep an open mind. Have a conversation with them, and time after time after time, they end up falling in love with a franchise that they never would have considered. And in fact, the Entrepreneur Source, which by itself, by the way, is itself a franchise. And so we've been around for, I think it's 37 years now. Excuse me. The franchise, we found that 95% of the people who have ended up in a franchise, 95 end up in something they never considered, didn't even cross their mind, or thought of something and dismissed prematurely. So that means that we are opening eyes and giving options to things that people never experienced or never expected and didn't even think about it. And I can guarantee you a good portion of that 95%, when their coach said, hey, here's a franchise I want you to explore, I can pretty much guarantee you that almost 95% of them said, yeah, no, I don't want that. That's awful. Next myth. I can't be in the X business. I don't know anything about it. The franchisor doesn't want you to know a lot about that industry. They don't want you to know that because they don't want your bad habits. They'll teach you what you need to know about running a house cleaning franchise or a coaching franchise or a fitness franchise or any of the other things. They can teach you that. What they can't teach you is what you bring to the table, that inherent skill sets, that drive, all those core values that you have. That's what they can't teach you, and that's what they're looking for. Next slide, please. There we go, great. Corporate HQ will dictate everything. I don't have any control. I was looking at some of the core values. A lot of people were saying flexibility. Oh man, I completely agree with you in that. Flexibility. I want to be able to do things the way that I want. And a franchise is a framework. It's a recipe, but still has tremendous flexibility. Now, to be sure, there are franchises such as McDonald's that are pretty strict, and you want that. You want to have them serve the same Big Mac to you, whether you're in Prague, whether you're in South America, or whether you're in Des Moines. You want the same thing. And so they have strict requirements on how things on their product. However, most franchises have tremendous flexibility. So with my particular franchise, the Entrepreneur Source, they call it an 8-lane highway with bumpers, which is so true for me. So I have a tremendous flexibility to do what I want, but I have bumpers. There's certain things that I'm not allowed to exceed. Again, I can't be creative in a franchise, tremendous flexibility depending on the franchise, and that's what I help you do. And finally, of the myths, I can't, it's too expensive, I can't afford it. In reality, unlike the millions of dollars that a franchise for McDonald's or Subway costs, the franchises in our system cost 1/10 of that. So the franchises in our system, total first-year investment is about between $75,000 to $150,000 to $200,000. That's the majority of the franchises. We have some that are considerably cheaper. We have some that are considerably more. That's the total first-year investment, and funding is very, very readily available. So we have lots of options for getting funded. You do not have to have a couple $100,000 in your back pocket. Not something that you have to do, thankfully, and we can help most people get funded. So those are some of the myths. Next slide, please. I think there's a next slide, remember correctly. Yes, shift your mindset. A couple of other things that I realize I have to update on this presentation. Let me tell you a few things about me and what I do. I am a coach at all times. The only thing I care about is what's best for you. There's no cost to working with me. So it's like a good real estate agent, residential real estate agent. A good residential real estate agent is going to help you find what's the right house for you. They're not going to try and sell you into something if it's not the right fit. I know most of the real estate agents I know are phenomenal people, and they only care about finding the right fit. There's a couple of people who are salespeople out there, and I just avoid them. That's what I am. I'm a coach. I only care about what's right for you. The only thing that is going to make me happier, well, that's it. Let me rephrase that. The only thing I care about is that you get to a point of clarity. That's the only thing I care about. What is important to you? What is your next step? My philosophy, and it's borne fruit for many years, is if not now, maybe later. I've had clients that I work with who say, now's not the right time, and come back to me a year, 6 months, 2 years later and say, it wasn't right then, but it's right now. I've also had clients say, not right for me, so let me introduce you to my friends. I get lots and lots of referrals, and I'm forever grateful and honored by those referrals. And if none of the above, I hope you've learned something. The other thing that's nice about franchising is that it's reverse ageism. So for those of you who are in your 40s and 50s and 60s, franchises want to talk to you. You know how business works. You know how to overcome obstacles. You know how to have that drive to make things work. You know how to problem solve. That's what a franchise is looking for. They're looking for somebody with those problem solving, the big picture, that ability to make things happen. They're not looking for a young upstart. I mean, those are great too, but the vast majority of my clients are in their 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Although I'm seeing some people in their 20s and 30s are saying to me, I've seen what corporate America has done to my parents. I've seen what corporate America has done to the older generation. I don't want that. I don't want that. A lot of you are in crossroads. As I mentioned before, some people might start their own business, and that's great. They have that vision. Some people are true corporate animals, and that's great. I think of all your options, franchising has potential to be the least risky. And by that, I mean that a franchise is already a proven business model. So it's not like a startup where you have no idea if there's going to be a market or if it's going to be successful. But as I'm sure many of you know on here, many if not all of you know on here, any corporate job could go away at any time. I don't know, I've certainly been laid off more times than I can count. I've seen people be laid off more times than they can count. And 90% of the time it comes as a surprise. With a franchise, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. I think there's one more slide, please, Bree. So be in business for yourself, but not by yourself. What that means is that I own my own business. Jessica didn't mention, but I am so grateful and honored to be a financial corporate sponsor of Career Connectors. And it's one of the things that makes me most proud of my life, that I get to do this. It's my decision. I didn't have to go and get permission. Please, may I be a corporate sponsor? I just decided, because it's my business, this is how I want to spend it. I get to be in business for myself. I decide how I want to spend my time, who I want to work with, how I want to work, all of that stuff, because this is my business. But I'm not by myself, and that's crucial. So I talked about the coaching that I get, ongoing coaching from people. The headquarters takes care of so many things that I don't want to have to think about. So they take care of my marketing. They take care of my legal, the strategic planning, the training, the financial and accounting. They take care of all of that stuff for me, because my success directly impacts their success, and that's crucial. Finally, franchises are awarded, they're not sold, which means that the franchisor only wants you to be successful. And so the worst thing that can happen is they can bring on somebody as a franchisee and they're not successful. So they are going to interview you if you're looking at franchises. But this is a crucial, crucial point. So there's no cost to working with me, as I mentioned. I will put a link to my calendar and to my personal website in the chat so you can take a look. Would love to have a 15-minute conversation with you. Just check it out. please, 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 if you're looking for work and you're interested in franchises, continue the search for both. I can't tell you enough, can't beg you enough, please, to keep looking for a job as you're looking at franchises and look at all of your options. Again, no cost to working with me. Check out my LinkedIn recommendations. I'm so proud of those, because people who have taken some time to say nice things about me, because they recognize that I'm only in it for you and what's best for you, and along the way, make a decent living. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap things up. I hope I'm on time, and I know we're going to go into breakout rooms. Is that correct?
Yep. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. We really appreciate you being here and providing this opportunity to people and letting them know what's out there. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, I'm going to go through a couple more slides to finish this out, and then we are going to have you all break out into the different breakout rooms that we have available today. So if you do have any feedback about this event or future events, we would love to have you send us an email, send us a note at contact@careerconnectors.org. And we take any feedback we get and incorporate it into future events as well. And thank you again to our sponsors. We do our best to bring a wide variety of sponsors to our program, and our newest one is APS, Entrepreneur Source, of course. We work with RWCA, who's the Resume Writers Council of Arizona. They will be here at the breakout session to help with your resumes. And again, there was a question about applicant tracking software, ATS, at the during Wade's talk. Donna Tucker is here today. I'm telling you, she's the best. She has researched this stuff and has certifications and knows how to help get through applicant tracking systems. So I encourage you to meet with her in the breakout session. Also, we do have a couple additional tools available for you guys. We do the DISC assessment, and it is at no cost to you through a partnership with Top Talent Consulting. So feel free to go get your DISC assessment done. It's about 24 pages of content that'll talk about your ideal work environment, your communication style, and then also how you can look at that and incorporate some of that into your resume and into your interviews. We also have a lot of social media. We have the webinar that will be posted also on our website. And then we have some really cool upcoming events. And so in a couple of weeks, we have another virtual event. This is with Jean Brees. Discover and unleash your superpower. If you've never heard Jean talk, she's phenomenal. And I have known Jean for many years, back into her corporate days, and watched her launch into her speaking and coaching business. And she is really phenomenal on her content and really understanding how to utilize your gifts. And of course, we have our coaches here for you. And then we have an expo coming up that's going to be in person. So if you are interested in the booming, crazy industry of construction, and whether that be hands-on construction or behind the scenes in the finance, HR, et cetera departments, over 200,000 job openings in constructions in at least the Phoenix area over the next couple years. It's crazy. The industry is just growing like crazy. So we have 30 employers that are going to be there, and it's going to be in Phoenix. And so we're going to have a food truck and lots of fun things. And so tons of jobs, thousands of jobs and giveaways will be on site that day. And that's June 23rd. And then July 14th is another virtual event. You guys, this one is one of our favorites. We are tackling the hard stuff, the career obstacle course, age, race, gender. We're going to talk about it all. And so be ready with your questions, and Brenda Cunningham will be leading us through that one. And so you can see on the next slide, that's just information on Jean Brees. All of these you can find on our website under the event registration tab. And then you'll see this one is on the career construction careers and pathways expos. So whether it's you or somebody you know, some of us have kids that are graduating high school, that are looking for in college and looking for what their next career is. I am telling you, if they get involved in the construction industry, it is, the career pathways are insane and the opportunities there. Also, we just launched a new partnership with the Greater Phoenix Chamber Foundation, and it is called AZ Careers Now. And so you are welcome to go onto the azcareersnow.com website. We are funneling all the content for the job seeker side. And so which is basically a lot of its duplication from our website, but it's a new partnership where we're on a grant for the next 18 months to have these regular large industry focused events. And so we have the construction one coming up. We've already done IT, and we're planning on a healthcare one, finance and insurance, warehousing, distribution, transportation, administration. So we're taking each big industry that's growing in Arizona and running these events to support those industries. And so we're super excited about it. They've been extremely successful, the couple that we've run already, and we will continue to do that over the next 18 months. So excited about that one. The next slide here is our website. If you go under event registration, that is where you'll find all of our upcoming events. We have a couple listed out now, and we're working on the graphics for the next couple that are after that. And you can also find the recording from today right on our homepage. It's on that the option icon on the right-hand side, the event recording. That will be up by tomorrow morning. Thank you to all of our volunteers and staff that help run this program. We have a lot of coaches available to you at the end. So thank you all for volunteering your time. And then if you would like to volunteer, you can check us out at careerconnectors.org/volunteer for us to follow up with you if you're interested in doing that. All right, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And so if you ever feel called to support our organization in any way, whether it's just throughout the year or through a couple of our big giving donation days, we love it. It is $52 per person, $42 per person for us to serve people. And so that is something that if you ever want to give back, give forward when you're working and in your next job, then that would be, we'd really, really appreciate it. So that is, you can go there through our donation section on our website or contact us directly. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to throw it over to Bree to take us into the breakout sessions. And just know that myself and my team, we are praying for you guys that you land into the career of your dreams. Thank you so much for being here today. Bye.
All right, so now we're going into the breakout room session. So what you're going to do is once I open all of the breakout rooms, you can go in your toolbar and select a room to join, and you'll see the list of rooms, which I will share in the next slide. And you'll just toggle over to the right-hand side and click a room to join. So I'll go ahead and open them right now. Let's see, breakout rooms. All right.
Okay, so our coaches can all join your rooms. And then thank you, great. There we go. All right, and you guys, as you see the rooms pop up, you can hit join and you can just go directly into that room. If you have any problems and can't, the option's not coming up for you or whatever, either drop in the chat where you want to go and we can help get you there, or just unmute yourself and let us know and we will get you there as well.